Yo, what up? You know what it is. It's your boy AJ Francis reporting to you live from New York City, the birthplace of hip-hop. And I'm telling you that I'm only tuned in with True Heel Heat Wrestling. Holla at me.
Hello everyone, it's the hardcore legend Mick Foley wishing a nice day to everyone there, right there at True Heel Heat. Yeah!
Hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. We are live on the True Hill Heat YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for our TNA Bound for Glory 2024 preview. And we got an all-star panel here with us today talking about this Saturday's biggest show of the year for TNA Wrestling, their highest grossing TNA pay-per-view of all time already before the doors even open over in Detroit. And of course, I have to be joined by my TNA professor, TNA expert extraordinaire. He is one half of the extraordinary team on Thursdays that review it over on the Fightful YouTube channel. He is also one half of those boys in the weeds every morning over on Fightful Overbooked. He is Joe Pearl.
I even matched the Sharpie to the Bound for Glory color scheme. Look at us.
You should have done the flipping of the pen
Mr.
and then
Perfect
catching.
thing,
Yeah.
Thinking about like Mike Tenay never did a thing like this. That was Bobby the Brain, but he didn't get Mike Tenay was just like, just stare at the camera. Let me tell you the odds in Vegas.
And we are also joined by podcaster extraordinaire, battle rapper extraordinaire, someone I've been wanting to have on the channel for a very long time. Shad Tawks, Graps is here with us. How you doing, good sir?
What's good, man? What's going on, fellas? Yeah, it's your boy Shad Talks Graps from Wrestling Republic Podcast. I'm honored to be here. This is my first guest appearance on somebody else's podcast, so it's kind of cool to be a guest, and definitely been rocking with SP3 for a little while now. I'm not AJ Francis for y'all who were watching the preview thing. I know we're both bald, brown with beards, and he battle raps now. Fun fact, he just battled the Saga, so he's taking everything from me. But nah, I'm honored to be here, and I'm definitely excited to talk about this pretty stacked pay-per-view we got this weekend.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to TNA Bound for Glory and talking about it with you guys. Also, to talk about it with all of you who are watching us live or watching us on demand. We appreciate you either way. Remember to show your appreciation back the simplest way possible. Drop the thumbs up on this video. You can also share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you are new to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. And of course, sound off in the live chat. We love to interact with all of you guys, hear your thoughts on TNA Bound for Glory, your predictions on the card. What did you think about the build so far to the event on Saturday? And of course, if you're feeling generous, you want to give back to what we do here, you can send a super chat donation. Any dollar amount matters. We'll highlight your comment on screen, and we always appreciate that kind of support. We got Eric Isaacs in the chat with us today saying, hey, THH fam, my BFG picks are Santana, Masha, Hardys, Macklin, Vikingo, Rosemary, and Shu. Kazarian wins the Call Your Shot gauntlet and then cashes in to beat Nemeth and Hendry. He must be a big fan of the king of TNA. That's a hot take right there. That last one, for real.
Whoa. Okay. It's gonna be a lot to talk about in that one.
He pretty much did my job. I'm about to just copy his predictions bar for bar. Why not? He well thought out for them. That's pretty good. I like it, Eric.
We also got Bala B who says NXTNA, NXTNA, NXTNA. Hendry going to take the TNA title to NXT. Definitely the big one that a lot of people are talking about for this Saturday show. We also got I Make Beats in the chat who says, yo, it's Joel. I recently discovered In the Weeds. Great stuff with Jeremy and all that 90210 discourse. Laugh my ass off. You've been talking about 90210 without me, Joel?
Okay, so the 90210 stuff is because we've been talking about Jack Perry, and we were trying to figure out how the Mox storyline, if there was some sort of higher power, would Jack Perry come over and join the Mox stable? And how does he do it? He's the money man. He's got all the money, and it came from the 90210 money that his dad gave to him. And while we were doing that, the 90210 discourse was that there is a lot of episodes of 90210 that are not available on the streaming platform of your choice. And the reason for that is because they used licensed music. They used copyrighted music, and they weren't going to go and redub over it. So that was a whole lot of that conversation. We did that over 2 weeks. It's good stuff.
Oh man, I'm gonna go back and watch it. I am big into the 90210 verse, as everybody knows. I'm a big teen drama mark, and that was the first one that I discovered. And yes, when me and my missus first got together in like 2019, we tried to watch all of 90210 on Hulu, and they literally had 2 episodes from season 5. Like season 5 is just gone on Hulu when it was on Hulu.
That's wild. There's a whole bunch of nothing.
That's crazy. I didn't know that it was taken off due to that, but that makes a lot of sense now you think about it. So
see, this is why Joel is the professor. He lets us know things. He lets us
right
know.
there. It's more than just wrestling with you, Joe. I like it, man.
It's funny because if you ask most people, it's not, but that's okay. Let them lie. It's good.
We got some love for Shad in the chat as well. Let's go, Shadi. We also got I Make Beats. He says there's some wild booking going on over there. I guess with 90210, there was some wild booking. Still, man, Dylan, what he did to Brenda, I will never forgive. But that's gonna lead us down a rabbit hole that we don't want to go down. So let's talk some TNA Bound for Glory, as we always do with our pay-per-view previews. We like to go 0 to 10. What is your buzz level? What is your excitement level for this Saturday show? Shad, let's start with you. 0 to 10. Where are you at for TNA Bound for Glory?
It being Bound for Glory, it, like you mentioned, it being kind of their marquee WrestleMania-esque pay-per-view, I feel like there is a level of excitement. There's a couple matches that I'm very excited to see. I feel, any Speedball Mike Bailey match, I'm instantly going to have to watch it. I think that guy is probably one of the best bell-for-bell wrestlers in the entire world. He always just puts on classic after classic. And him going against Vikingo, returning back into wrestling, being hurt after a little while, that's something that has piqued my interest a lot. I'm a big, proponent. I love women's wrestling. A couple of the matches that we got, Jordan Grace versus Masha Slamovich, that's going to be a banger. I really rock with both of them. The rematch from a couple years ago, I believe, from a Bound for Glory, 2022. Was it? I think so, right? Yeah. So them having that. And then, the seeing Santana Moose got my interest. I think Santana's been doing some good work coming into TNA. So I'm gonna give it an 8. I'm gonna give it an 8.
All right, that's a solid number. Solid number to start off there. Joel, what about you?
I'm about a 6.5, close into a 7. There's some stuff that I'm looking forward to. There's some stuff that I am dreading, but I'm looking forward to the show. We're gonna have a lot to talk about through this whole breakdown in this preview, but maybe by the time we're done, given our ideas, that'll be a little more hyped. And maybe after Thursday's episode, I'll be more hyped. Who knows?
There you go. I'll get in the middle of between y'all. I'll say 7.5. Going through the card and uploading the images, I was like, oh, that's going to be really good. That's going to be really good. That's going to be great. So I think that the card will over deliver. I understand where Joel's at because the build hasn't been as solid as I wished it was for certain matches, but definitely the card itself, I am excited for. So I'll give it a 7.5. And let's start off with what's going to be on the kickoff ahead of Bound for Glory after they're done with the TNA Hall of Fame with Rhino and Bob Ryder going into the Hall of Fame this year. We got the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, 20 individuals. It's basically the TNA version of the Royal Rumble, but it's gauntlet style, where it will be over the top rope eliminations until it's down to the final two, and then the winner will be decided between the final two by pinfall or submission. The winner gets a shot at any TNA championship of their choosing that they can cash in at any time. Of course, Jordan Grace won this last year at Bound for Glory and went on to win the TNA World Championship at Hard to Kill against Trinity. So this is a very important Call Your Shot Gauntlet. It's become a staple of the Bound for Glory kind of card. Moose winning it back in 2021 and then cashing it in on the same night against Josh Alexander after he won the TNA World Championship. So time after time, this Call Your Shot Gauntlet has created some memorable moments. Start with you, Joel. Who do you think is going to win this one?
So I know that the common theme here is Frankie Kazarian. Everyone's thinking it's going to be Frankie, and then he's going to go on in the main event, have the zebra on, and whatever. He'll win it. I'm of a different mindset, and I've got two other names that I'm going to toss at you. One is AJ Francis, perennial favorite of True Heel Heat, and everybody for that matter. If you don't like AJ Francis, I don't know what's wrong with you. AJ once told me, "I really hope Joe Hendry wins the title," and I said, I think I know why you're going to tell me this. And AJ Francis cut me off. He said, because I made Joe Hendry. And if I get Joe Hendry that title, then I get to get a first-class shot at Joe Hendry. And I said, oh, shit, he's right. So him winning this title could easily give him some sort of extended story. And he's entertaining. I would be fine with that. The other name that I'm going to throw out, because you just mentioned that Jordan Grace had won the title, is Killer Kelly. Lately, Masha Slamovich has been making a lot of references to Killer Kelly in her interviews and in her AMAs on Reddit, that as Killer Kelly releases that new movie that she did with Luke Perrin, could be the right time to bring her back and maybe make her the first contender for the Knockouts Championship. So those are the two names. Of course, Frankie Kazarian's always floating in the ether. So those are, if I give you my top three, that's what I'm going to give you.
Yeah, we're kind of on the same page because my pick is AJ Francis, and I did interview him on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, and his hallmark to fame in TNA is that he made Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry was on pre-shows before he started messing with AJ Francis, and I was like, can't really argue it. I like Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry's a friend of the channel too. I love Joe Hendry, but I can't really argue with him because I was baffled at the times that Joe Hendry was on the pre-show. But ever since he feuded with AJ Francis and all the viral songs, it put Joe Hendry on another level. And I kind of given away who I think is going to win the main event, but I think that it makes storyline sense to have AJ Francis win the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, and he could pretty much go after different titles because him and Casey Navarra could go after the tag team titles. He's got his history with the Digital Media Championship, the TNA World Title. So I like that pick of AJ Francis. Shad, what about you?
So this is more so what I would like to see. I feel like TNA needs to start and create more stars that are young and up and rising. I feel a lot of it is what they're doing now is prevalent on the backs of the popularity of a Joe Hendry, a Jordan Grace. And I think there's a lot of young up and coming stars on that roster that could benefit it. And I'm just such a big fan of this young man. I would like to see Leon Slater win it. I feel like Leon Slater winning it, calling his shot maybe for the X Division title at some point and becoming the X Division champion. Super young, phenomenal wrestler, bell for bell. He's killing it out there across the pond in the UK. I feel like that can kind of add the fuel for a young guy like him and take him to that next level for TNA. And then, with him possibly being the X Division champ, you got that relationship with NXT. Him having that belt, maybe feuding with a guy like a Javon Evans on NXT, right? Or bringing somebody in the talent that they have over there, like a Wesley, and just continue to keep building him and help him grow as the star that he can be. If I was to pick someone on the other side, obviously, because you said it's men and women, I feel like Ash by Elegance could probably benefit from it too. Another person who is, slowly, been rebuilding herself as a professional wrestler. And the knockouts division, there's that chance that Jordan Grace might dip once her contract is over, right? There's the fear that she could go to the WWE. I feel like they need to also create some women that could be stars. And I feel like Ash, formerly known Dana Brooke, has done a lot of great stuff since coming on to TNA. I feel like she's someone that wasn't utilized to her max potential in WWE, but she has that experience of familiarity working like on TV and all of that. I think she could benefit from it too. So those would be the two I would like to see. But I want to be mad at AJ Francis because that is my dog. I like AJ Francis a lot. I feel like his entertainment level and how he's kind of really took storm in professional wrestling after leaving WWE has been great. And I said it on Twitter the other day. The bridge that he's created with hip hop and professional wrestling has been remarkable. So I got a lot of props for him. So it'd be cool if he wanted to.
That's a good shout with Leon Slater because him and Speedball tore it up last week on TNA Impact, and I got told by Sammy Callahan that was going to be a match to watch, and he did not lie. And Sam, I'll throw a shout out here for my boy Sammy Callahan because he's going to be in the matchup, and he might use his new position backstage to kind of get himself back into title contention. I don't know, I wouldn't mind it.
We'll do live events in Ohio, and I'll be the champion. Thumbs up.
Thumbs down.
Soul Session. Salute. That's one of my podcast buddies over here.
Nice. Soul Session saying a good point they're making. They said, why not have a women's NXT wrestler win it and have them cash it in on an NXT PLE to allow a bigger showcase for TNA? Well, they have to have a TNA champion on the NXT PLE because I know that. Well, for now, it is for a TNA championship opportunity, not just a championship opportunity. Yeah. Maybe I'll listen to the commentary on this week's TNA Impact because if they just say it's for a championship opportunity, that might be a red herring of what's about to happen. But if I'm going to pick an NXT wrestler, since you guys picked the women's wrestler as well, I would throw in Sol Ruka because Sol Ruka never got a rematch for the TNA Knockouts World Championship. Rosemary and Wendy True got involved in her matchup against Jordan Grace on NXT. She never got a rematch for the championship, so I'll throw in Sol Ruka as another pick for the women's side.
I'm sure we'll probably see a couple. You think we'll see some NXT names in it?
You will.
Yeah.
You will.
Yeah, I'm assuming that too.
I think so. I think we're definitely going to see some. We got a super chat donation here from Vala B. Thank you so much, Vala B. He says, "Call Your Shot Gauntlet is the biggest source of dread for me."
I made a lot of people mad when I called this, by the way, in 2021. I sat there and I said, it's going to be the funniest thing ever when Moose wins Call Your Shot and he cashes in at the end of the night on new champion Josh Alexander. And when it happened, people were like, Joel, what the hell's wrong with you? And I said, watch the story, watch the product. And it was exactly as it played out. I think things worked out pretty well for both men after that.
Yeah, that rivalry between Josh Alexander and Moose was awesome. And it all was set up with Call Your Shot. So gonna be interesting with all those choices that we gave them here. And speaking of Josh Alexander, the walking weapon, he's gonna be on the main card versus one of his main rivals in TNA as he'll go one-on-one with Steve Maclin. These two men have basically been feuding since Josh Alexander's TNA World Championship run in 2022 into 2023. They were supposed to be the main event of Rebellion last year before Josh Alexander went down with an injury. Steve Maclin went on to win the TNA World Championship and then lost it a few months later to Alex Shelley. Josh Alexander came back a few months after that at Slammiversary. These two men faced each other at Victory Road with Josh Alexander getting the win last year. But now their rivalry is a lot different because they're on different sides of the spectrum. For the longest time, Josh Alexander has been the top babyface in TNA with Steve Maclin as a top heel. But now Maclin has become this babyface mostly due to his relationship with Eric Young and the mutual respect respect that they've shown for one another after going one-on-one against one another. And Josh Alexander has gone over to the dark side after turning heel at Slammiversary. Recently, he's even started his own stable with Sinner and Saint, the Northern Armory. And they got some redemption and took out Eric Young, injuring him just a few weeks ago on TNA Impact, taking out Steve Maclin backstage. Maclin made the challenge this past week on TNA Impact with Josh Alexander accepting the challenge. This rivalry reborn now on different sides of the spectrum. Joel, what have you thought about the kind of ever-changing story between Alexander and Maclin over the last couple of years and this new version of Josh Alexander heading into TNA Bound for Glory?
You know what's absolutely wild about everything you just said? This is the second time these two have had a one-on-one match.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
By the way you talked about it, by the way you've watched it play out, you think that Alexander and Maclin will have faced each other 20 times. This was the John Cena, Randy Orton Redux TNA version. No, this is the second time. Josh Alexander has the only singles win between the two. This story has taken a much better turn, in my opinion, watching Maclin and Alexander switch sides, watching Alexander get a couple of cronies. By the way, Armory is with a U. They are Canadian. It's the Armory, Armoury. They'll tell you that, but TNA won't. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Watch how the Canadians spell it. That's what's more important. I have a feeling that it's going to be Steve Maclin getting the win here. It evens up their feud in terms of singles competition and then opens up for a third match that'll be more important down the line. Don't know what that's going to look like, but that's where I'm sitting. Is Steve Maclin gets the win. It also solidifies his beginning of a babyface run.
That makes sense. Shad, where are you at with this one between Maclin and Alexander this Saturday?
So I don't know if I necessarily like Josh Alexander as a heel. I guess I'm warming up to it a little bit more. I've been used to him just being such a great face, being that guy who is just a tough fighter, doing all that. So I'm starting to kind of get used to it. And like you said, them having the roles reversed, I feel like if given the opportunity, 9 times out of 10, I feel like I'm going to pick Alexander beating Maclin just because I feel like he's a more skilled professional wrestler, and what he does as character. No knock on Maclin. I think he's solid too. But like y'all said, it's a rejuvenated baby face to him. It's a new story for Steve Maclin. I feel like him losing would kind of not do him a lot of benefit. I think at this current juncture, I feel like Josh Alexander as a heel, a loss for him could kind of, come back and with his posse, his crew, try to wreak even more havoc, maybe extend the feud. But I feel like it'd be a big loss for Maclin if he did lose this Saturday. So I'm going to pick him. I got him winning the match against Alexander.
I like both of these guys. I've had the chance to talk to both of these guys, and I agree with a bunch of what y'all saying about Steve Maclin. But I'm sick of seeing Josh Alexander as a heel keep losing. Like, he lost against Nic Nemeth. He lost that Slammiversary. Like, he has lost way too much since he turned heel.
Good.
I'm going with Josh Alexander. You gotta confirm the Northern Armory as a prominent faction. We can't just make Josh Alexander TNA's version of Finn Balor, guy within a group that loses to everybody. Can't just do that.
Well, here's the difference. Finn Balor just re-signed a big contract.
Good
Period.
point.
End of sentence.
That's a good point, yeah. That's a good point.
Good point. Yes. I don't see Josh Alexander
You get what I'm putting down.
re-signing.
Can you pull up that one chat from Valab?
From Balabi?
Yeah.
He says, I want to say based on his MLP appearances, I don't think Josh cares. Yeah, Josh cares for his heel run in TNA right now.
I'm going to tell you something, and this might shock you. It was Josh's idea.
Oh, wow.
Northern Crown.
I can see that.
Northern Crown is an indie that runs here in Toronto, and that's where this all started, was just before Money in the Bank weekend. We had some friends of ours who were at the show, and that's when Josh officially started his heel run on the indies. He had the biggest shit-eating grin on his face doing this because he's in Toronto, it's his home space, and he decided to turn heel. That's it. And when given the opportunity to do it in TNA, where he was the face, the heart, the soul, the everything of TNA, to turn that on its head, it was perfect for him. So I can tell you, he's happy. He's happy.
But I feel like the main reason anyone goes heel, obviously, is if you feel stale. Has he been failing? He hasn't really. I never had him feeling stale as a babyface or his babyface work in TNA. But
his character was stale. His wrestling is always great. Yeah. But his character was the same. I'm the heart and soul, and I'm going to beat you and win the championship, and that's all it was. And Volleyball, I'm not calling you out. I'm just, I saw your comment, and I just wanted to put it out there that like it was his idea. It's his idea, and it's been, to me, working very well in his favor.
Yeah. I really liked his, rivalry with Nic Nemeth and with Joe Hendry. He really put over Joe Hendry and got him ready for the main event of this show. But like I said, I think he's lost way too much. I just named you people he lost to. Like, he's lost way too much. I need Josh Alexander to win here. But in another non-title grudge match on this show, speaking of former TNA World Champions, the aforementioned Moose will go one-on-one with Mike Santana. These two men have basically been feuding since before Slammiversary because Moose basically targeted Mike Santana as the one guy he was scared to have in the six-way TNA World Championship matchup at Slammiversary when Moose was the defending champion. He had JDC basically cost Mike Santana his qualifying matchup for that six-way match. It led to Mike Santana and JDC feuding with one another, with Mike Santana getting the victory in a Texas death match. And then after that match, it was Moose that attacked Mike Santana. Santana has been a man on a mission ever since then, targeting the system, attacking them at every turn, including in their own locker room, going 1D with a steel chain against all the members of the system. He took out most of the members of the system on last week's TNA Impact, but Moose was nowhere to be found. He went backstage to look for him, and Moose hit him upside the head with a bat. This is going to be a physical encounter for sure. Shad, what have you thought about the build to this matchup, and who do you think wins?
I feel like the build for this match has been pretty solid. Like you said, it's kind of the number games in the sense. The system run shop in TNA. They got the numbers game. They are like the evil heels that get shit cracking over there. They're gonna win by any means necessary amongst themselves. And I feel like that's where it is kind of beneficial for Mike Santana just coming in, playing that baby face, coming back into wrestling after a minute, because I know he was gone for a long ass time, I feel, on AEW. So, kind of rejuvenated and going against them. And I feel like you said, I like both of these characters individually. I feel like they bring an essence of professional wrestling that I do like, where it is kind of like, you get a peek, them going against each other. Santana's not going to go for any BS against him, and he ain't afraid to go against them. And Moose is just an imposing threat. He's a big, strong, well-renowned, a legend in TNA in his own right for what he's done over there. And I like that he's been, given the opportunity to kind of give Santana this feud. And I feel like they've done a good job. It's definitely one of the, pretty good builds for the storyline. I can't go against the numbers game, though, man. I feel like logically just wouldn't make sense to me to go against the numbers game. I feel like the system, like I mentioned, it kind of runs shop. I think Santana does take the L here. I got Moose winning.
I'm going to stay faithful to my New York brethren, and I'm going to go with Mike Santana. He needs a big W here, and I think that Mike Santana could be future in the TNA World Championship scene, but this is going to be the win that propels him to that. I agree with you. The numbers game does scare me, and they could have Moose win the matchup, but I'm just going to go with my heart and go with Mike Santana. Bronx own Mike Santana. Joe, what about you?
I mean, the whole stuff with Moose and whether the system will get involved really depends on where the match places on the card.
True.
Because if they open up the show with Full Metal Mayhem, which I think they will, then you'll probably not see the system for at least that match, depending on how close it is in proximity to the opening contest, which I think is going to be Full Metal Mayhem. So that's kind of where I'm at.
But there's still that JDC
There
He's
is still
not
that
on the card.
JDC. Yes, he's not on the card. He could be in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. Probably will be.
Yeah.
Man, Santana, I've been saying it on our post shows on Fightful. He's next up. He's the guy that they've been wanting next up. He's the guy that they've been grooming to be the next TNA World Champion. He runs to it. He wants it. He shows that he needs it. He's the dude that, that should be picking up a big win tonight, on Saturday night. And I don't really expect the system to be involved, but we'll see. Again, depends where it is on the card.
Great there. We do have another super chat donation from Vala B. Thank you so much. As always appreciate your support in the chat. He says, Joel, what are the odds Eminem will be at Bound for Glory? He got his announcement of President Barack Obama yesterday in Detroit. He's in Detroit. He's there. So I mean, is there a chance?
He spoke at it too, right? Didn't he have like a speech? Yeah.
He had a speech. He introduced. Yeah, it was like a minute and a half.
Eminem's not a big public speaker.
No. He introduced Barack Obama, and then Barack Obama did the rapping for him, saying the lines to "Lose Yourself."
Lose yourself, yeah.
Speaking of the takedown on SI, Joe Hendry said the following. I'm not going to put on an accent, by the way. Says, I quote, I'm going to choose my words extremely carefully here, all right? Oh, I got to be careful with how I word this, man. I got to be careful with how I word this. This is what I will say. What I've been doing is throwing things out there, having fun. That's how this all started. Before there was the close relationship between TNA and NXT and me going over there, we were putting things out and teased me going there. And then those things you put out into the universe, some of them can eventually become a reality. So I will say this. I don't know who's going to show up at Bound for Glory, but I will tell you this. The chances of Eminem showing up, I would say, are higher now than when I first mentioned it. Let's just say that. Yes. Typically, when somebody retweets a ton of asking someone to show up and their fan accounts get a hold of it, that means that things go from 0 to 5%. From 0 to 5%.
5%. Hey.
5%. Hey, it's better than 0. 5%.
I'm gonna lie, if Eminem shows up, that would be like one of the more like crazier things. Well, I mean, shoot, Kanye done showed up at a couple like
Pro Wrestling Noah. He was
Pro Wrestling Noah event and stuff like that.
Hey, don't worry, I don't know if they wanted him there for that.
Crazy things have happened.
My odds are low. My odds are low. Would it be a great coup for TNA? Absolutely. Would they run that stuff into the ground media-wise? You'd hope so.
Yeah.
But not very high on the cards. God bless Joe Hendry. He's trying. He's manifesting. He's got his vision board out. He's saying it everywhere he can. He's hoping someone gets an Eminem's. I get it. I just don't have high hopes.
I don't think he has Barack Obama to get him there. So, unfortunately, 5%, like you said, is better than 0. Now let's talk about the championship matches on this card. This is 6 championship matches already been announced. You got for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championship. It's going to be Spitfire, Jody Threat, and Danny Luna defending against Rosemary and NXT's own Wendy Chu. This rivalry just pretty much started a couple of weeks ago with Wendy Chu and Rosemary kind of changing their targets. They had been targeting and feuding with Jordan Grace over the last couple of weeks until they lost a 6-woman tag team matchup against Grace, Masha Slamovich, and Sol Ruka. And they changed direction from the TNA Knockouts World Championship to the tag team titles. We got a vignette with them haunting Jody Threat as she was eating lunch in catering and going after her. And then it was announced on social media that they will be the challengers for Spitfire for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team titles. Shad, what do you think about the chances of Wendy Chu becoming the first NXT wrestler to win a TNA championship?
I feel like the chances are higher than people could imagine they would be. I feel it's kind of a it's bound to happen situation with the partnership with TNA and NXT. You know, we see the bleeding of wrestlers from TNA pulling up there and NXT wrestlers pulling up here. Like it's kind of a thing that is bound to happen. And I feel like it's bound to happen at Bound for Glory. I got Wendy Choo and Rosemary winning, and that's I know that Spitfire just became the tag champs a little bit ago, right? It's not maybe unfair that they lose it so quickly, but the fact that we've seen Rosemary show up on NXT so many times and them kind of having this great pairing, and they, attack people from the NXT side. And that's the other thing too. NXT's women's division being so fruitful and having so many people on the roster, I think that is the big time benefit of the partnership in a sense, because the Knockouts division to me seems a little bit skinnier than it was a few years ago. I feel like it's lacking a little bit of talent compared to what it was. And what was revered as the best women's division in North America, I thought the Knockouts division was that. I feel like NXT can argue that title in regards to just depth and booking wise. So I feel like you kind of got to benefit, every relationship, you got to take advantage of what benefits you. And I feel having Wendy Choo, and Rosemary being champs, you can kind of have them go against tag teams on NXT. You can have tag teams from NXT face them off in TNA. You go against TNA people. I feel like it kind of puts it in a fresh title reign, and it puts a little bit more on the map, because it seems like women's tag team wrestling is starting to pick up a little bit of steam lately. So I feel like why not go with the trend? And I'm also a reviewer of an NXT show every Tuesday night, so it would be very messed up if I ain't pick an NXT talent. So salute to my girl, the Demon Napper, Wendy Choo.
The Demon Napper. Joe, what do you think about the outcome for this matchup here?
Well, first of all, Jody Threat was not eating her lunch. She was playing with a knife in the kitchen while she was haunted by Choo Marie, as I call them.
I assumed she had finished her lunch. She had the knife in there.
I like that name, Choo Marie.
I call them Choo Marie. Spitfire is going to retain. I've done this for weeks, and we did this with the wedding of Steph DeLander and PCO. I sat there on the post show and I called that shit out for a month and a half. Told y'all what was going to happen, when it was going to happen. No one told me. I had to get it out of Steph DeLander in an interview how she felt about wrestling weddings. She was on to me. Anyway, point is, here we go. Spitfire is going to retain. Choo Marie are going to break up. Rosemary versus Wendy Choo. It's probably going to end with Rosemary regaining a certain former tag team partner of her own. Who was that tag team partner? Jessica Havoc. She's still active. She's okay. She's not injured. She's been wrestling. So now you got Rosemary and Havoc back. Now, who faces Spitfire next? Well, Ash by Elegance recently decided that she wants to take on a protege. The protege happens to be Heather Reckless. Reckless Elegance, they're going to be a tag team. They're going to win those Knockouts tag titles from Spitfire. What does Ash by Elegance have in common with Rosemary and Havoc? Well, who took out Jessica Havoc? Oh my God, it was Ash by Elegance. So, as the tag team champions, you're going to have Reckless Elegance drop those tag titles inevitably to Rosemary and Havoc. That'll probably get you through to Rebellion. Probably the longest Rebellion. There you go. Yeah. I just laid out your entire TNA Knockouts.
I feel like they should just hire you right now to be
one person who would hate that in TNA.
We all know who that is. But you are the king of coming up with tag team nicknames. I will give you that. Reckless Elegance. I love that.
Now that you say that, though, it even adds the element, because last night Wendy Choo kidnapped Tatum Paxley in a toy box. So
it's a box-like structure.
Yeah, box-like structure, because she was in the box hiding from Live with Valkyria. So they was like, hey, let's use that in a story and have Choo in a box. I'm gonna go with Spitfire, because I do agree with Shad. TNA's Knockouts World Tag Team titles are known for short reigns. I feel like they just have people win it, and then the next title defense they lose it. It seems like it happens way too much. Yeah. So I'm gonna try to go with the thought of consistency and go with Spitfire. They literally put their tag team on the line to win the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team titles. You can't just have them lose it the next month. So I'm gonna go with Spitfire here. Next, we got for the TNA Digital Media Championship and International Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. It's going to be PCO defending against Matt Cardona in a Monsters Ball. These two men have basically been feuding since PCO got married to Steph DeLander. It was Matt Cardona who came out as the uninvited guest, the wedding crasher on the wedding, knocking out PCO with a damn brick. He even interrupted their honeymoon. PCO was never able to consummate the marriage because Matt Cardona was cockblock extraordinaire, attacking him outside with a couple of cronies. Then Steph DeLander announced her injury, her neck injury that she had to get surgery on, and she went off to the distance. Matt Cardona attacking PCO's best man, Rhino, and they did pick your poison matches on this past week's TNA Impact with Matt Cardona choosing his best man, Rhino, to go up against PCO for his championships in a no DQ matchup. PCO won his pick your poison match, but Matt Cardona came up short against Nic Nemeth in his pick your poison matchup due to a distraction from PCO. This is presented to you by the Eye of Salamander, coming out on November 1st. That was a lot. Shad, what do you think about the build to this matchup? Who do you think wins, PCO versus Cardona?
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. PCO is a wrestler that I just haven't ever been a big fan of. I don't. It doesn't hold a lot of entertainment to me. I think he does, bring something different to pro wrestling. But the whole story has been interesting. It's been funny. I feel like the whole wedding aspect with Steph DeLander, hopefully she's good and heals up and whatnot. It's been interesting, but I mean, it being a Monsters Ball match, I feel like, and it being close to Halloween, PCO not winning, it kind of writes itself. I feel like he is going to win this match, get the title. Matt Cardona is just good in these spots like that. He's got the character that you want to root against. He's just the jack of all trades in every aspect of pro wrestling. That's how talented he is. But I got PCO winning.
Gotta agree with you, Shad. It just seems like PCO, the Monsters Ball, is his stipulation. It's his Cactus match. It's his Undertaker Buried Alive matchup. He's gonna win this one, so I'm gonna go with PCO. Even though I got love for Matt Cardona, I think he's so talented as well, and he is a guy that has done so much since leaving WWE and WWE, AEW. I don't know why they haven't gave him a call, because he's basically been calling them out for not giving him a call on interviews as of late. So I want to see
crazy. He could, like, honestly, he could kill it on WWE, like main roster AW, or even if he was like the old head in NXT or was doing stuff in ROH. Like, I feel like he could be a plug and play player wherever you put him in. That's just how talented he is.
Yeah, but he probably does mean more to like the places like TNA, like GCW, than he would even on those promotions. But I just had to mention that because he's been calling them out. It's been hilarious to me, every interview I see from Matt Cardona. Joe, what have you thought about the build to this matchup? You've been watching it closely over the last couple of months since Slammiversary. This whole thing started at the wedding following in Montreal.
You know what I love about Matt Cardona? He's Cody Rhodes' best friend. You know what Cody Rhodes loves to do more than anyone in the world? Lie. Don't worry, Matt Cardona's making his comments and references knowing full well what he's up to. We'll leave it at that. Matty C's he'll be okay. PCO, this is his match. You said it yourself. He's only lost one of these Monsters Balls and all the ones that he's ever competed in, and that was a BLP heavyweight title match where Calvin Tankman won. That's all. That was a title change. That was it. PCO was the champion at that point too in BLP. So every other Monsters Ball match, PCO has won. I feel like this one is no different. You probably won't see much movement on the story until Steph comes back. Don't know when that is. Don't know when she'll be okay. She had the surgery, said it was successful, made a joke about getting a BBL while she was there. Hilarious. Loved it. When she comes back, I feel like they'll pick it up. But for now, they got to get rid of that Canadian International Heavyweight Championship thing. It was fun for July because it made perfect sense for Slammiversary because that is a title that was introduced in Lucha Internacional, which is where PCO got his start, was doing everything. It's where he was most famous. So that made sense, but they have to keep both titles beyond those TV tapings in Montreal. I don't know why they're still involved. Whoever wins it has got to be a big time heel who just takes that Canadian Heavyweight Championship and just says, "Ugh, it's yours, gross." That's it, and that'll be it. But the PCO wins the match. Matt Cardona does his thing. Cardona's fun. That's all it is.
Yeah, he's always entertaining.
Go back
now.
to
Now let's talk about the match that Shad talked about earlier that I'm probably looking forward to the most. For the X Division Championship, it's going to be Speedball Mike Bailey defending against Elio del Vikingo. This one was set up on TNA Impact this past week after Speedball Mike Bailey won his awesome match with Leon Slater. Speedball has been racking up title defense after title defense in his third reign as X Division champion, and now he faces the former AAA mega champion, one of the greatest high flyers in the world today, Vikingo. Vikingo recently made his return to in-ring competition earlier this month for GLEAT in a tag team matchup against Ricochet and Shima. So he's back. He's back at it, doing his high-flying extraordinaire, and now he's facing one of his big rivals outside of the major promotions. They have faced each other quite a few times, most notably for GCW at Joey Janela's Spring Break last year, and now they face on a bigger stage TNA Bound for Glory for the X Division Championship. Joel, what do you think is going to happen here? Speedball Mike Bailey and Vikingo. Can Vikingo win the X Division Championship?
5.5 stars. Speedball retains. Look at us. We just did it. It's going to be match of the night. People are going to be fawning over this match. It's going to be fantastic. Everyone's going to love it. Sure, I will too. Listen, let me give you the one bit of hope for Vikingo. He's not signing with AEW. We'll put it like that. And there is a partnership between WWE and NXT. Or sorry, with NXT and TNA. There's your one bit of sliver of hope. That being said, 5.5 stars. Speedball retains.
Yeah, I really feel like I watched the Conan K100 that had Dave Meltzer on it.
All 4 hours of it.
Oh, no, not all 4 hours. Not all 4 hours, but I did watch the
4 hours.
I did watch the Dave Meltzer portion, and I did take note of him saying, you'll see Vikingo, but that's all I'll say right now. And you'll see him someplace.
Who'd have thought the guy who has the contract with Vikingo was going to anyway?
It was basically his manager and agent, like he is for Phoenix and Penta. So we all know he's not going back to AEW, even though kind of his social media during his injury kind of alluded to the fact that he wouldn't mind going to AEW. But if your manager doesn't want you to go there, I don't think you're going to go there. So I think that this is more or less an unofficial tryout, because WWE, NXT will have some eyes on this. Shawn Michaels will be watching this, and this might be his entryway into the WWE and probably NXT. But I agree with Joe. This is like a high potential of a perfect match, a 5-star, 5+ star type matchup. But I got Speedball Mike Bailey retaining. Shad?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting that you even said that, because I feel like Vikingo, when he was wrestling in AEW, like he fits like a glove over there. Like his just ability to just put on classics after classics, being one of the best high flyers in professional wrestling at the moment. Like, it is unfortunate him going to NXT. It would be interesting in a way, because they do got a lot of guys that kind of do work that pace too, like a Wesley, Javon Evans, the Fraxium. And then they kind of need like some dudes at like some male talent that are up at the top of the card. It's lacking a little bit besides like Ethan Page and Trick. But in regards to this match, it does feel a bit of a one-off match, like I was saying, like kind of a build that came in late into the picture, but we don't give a shit, because we know this match is just going to be an absolute banger at the end of the day, and that is enough to sell you a ticket to it. And I think Speedball Mike Bailey does retain. Speedball to me is a guy that you really gotta covet when you're looking at TNA because I think the guy is special. I think he's damn near undeniable as a talent, just what he can do in ring wise. But I feel like he's got so much potential to be more, and I hope that they kind of let him continue to grow and make him one of the top guys on their promotion because like he's one of the best in-ring wrestlers in the world. I can't preface that more than I've said it earlier on the show too. The dude's incredible. But yeah, 5-star match. Speedball retains. I love the X Division title and the pictures that they build with it too. So it should be good.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that one. As I am with this one in Full Metal Mayhem for the TNA World Tag Team Championship. It will be the Systems, Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers, defending against the former champions ABC, Ace Austin, and Chris Bay, as well as the Hardys, Matt and Jeff Hardy. The System won the TNA World Tag Team titles back from ABC. ABC beat them for the titles at Slammiversary, and then the System won them back in their rematch at Victory Road. The Hardys have picked up a victory over the System right before they regained the TNA World Tag Team titles. It has seemed like ever since the Hardys were reunited back in TNA that they had their sights set on the tag team titles and getting an opportunity, but ABC wanted to cash in their rematch clause. They had a number one contenders matchup on TNA Impact a couple of weeks ago with the System interfering to make it a no contest. And of course, Wrestling 101, we all know when the champions interfere in a number one contenders match, it becomes a triple threat. And not only that, Santino Marella made it Full Metal Mayhem. I think an interesting point to this has been the recent comments from Matt Hardy, kind of emphasizing that this is going to be, in his eyes, the final TLC matchup or TLC style matchup of the Hardys' career. They are long in the tooth. They have been together for 2 decades. This is going to be their final TLC matchup. Can they win the big one and regain the TNA World Tag Team titles for the first time since 2017? Will the System retain, or will ABC once again become the tag team champion? Shad, what do you think?
I think Matt Hardy saying that kind of just streamlines what the answer is going to be for me. But I am excited for the match before I do pick the winner. I feel that ABC is one of the more talented tag teams in pro wrestling. I'm a big Ace Austin and Chris Bay fan. Those guys are remarkable talents. The System, like I said, they got the numbers game. They've been kind of running shop with how they do that. But man, if we're talking about a feel-good moment and creating a moment for this pay-per-view, they a little older now. They're not the same Hardys that I used to watch when I was a little kid, trying to emulate doing swantons onto my mattress, right, off of a dresser. But I feel like the Hardys winning would make a big-time moment. And like you preface, this might be the last ladder match that they do as a team. I feel like it's important for them to kind of get one last title reign in pro wrestling and a sort of a send-off. And them kind of going to TNA and getting that opportunity, I'm totally fine with. I'm a big Jeff Hardy fan as a kid, one of my favorite wrestlers. And then Matt, super underrated guy, man. Dude put in a lot of work. Very brilliant mind. That they're one of the more iconic tag teams of all time. I feel like it's only right. So I got the Hardys making their moment and, winning those titles back after all these years on a Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. I think that the Hardys, this was them destined to win at Bound for Glory here, get one final reign with the TNA World Tag Team titles. And if I had to put my Joel Pearl booking hat on, I think eventually they'll drop the titles to ABC because they're the future of the TNA Tag Team division. Joel, what do you think?
They're gonna lose. No, I'm kidding. The Hardys are gonna win. And let me give you a few extra pieces here. Well, first of all, Matt Hardy in a backstage promo last week saying that this is tables, ladders, and then Jeff Hardy being like, whoa, Full Metal Mayhem. I thought that was very funny. Trying to call it TLC when it was really Full Metal Mayhem. When TNA announced that they were going to do it old school style, where they put the titles up on, and you had to retrieve them from the ladder for the first time since I forget when it was, but for the first time in a long time, that was like, all right, we're just giving this more and more credence. Here's step one. The next night at the TNA tapings in Detroit, they're going to be having a concert with Jeff Hardy. The guy that he's doing the concert with is also going to play into our predictions later on. So that's one. You don't really have the babyface doing a concert when he's in a rough mood and having lost a match. The TV tapings after that are going to be in Fayetteville. Do you know which state is Fayetteville, SP3?
Is that North Carolina?
That is North Carolina, the home of the Hardy Boys. The Turning Point pay-per-view happening at WrestleCade at the end of November. That is going to be in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
North Carolina.
There you go. So this is the Hardy. This is the last Hardy.
Family I got family up there. I might need to make that trip.
You should. It's a fantastic time. They put on a great show, and Turning Point's going to be at WrestleCade this year, which is a lot of fun. So that's going to be the loop, and then Final Resolution in December is going to be in Atlanta. So I don't know when it ends, but this is definitely the Hardy loop, and it starts Saturday nights.
The Hardy final run in TNA before they go back to WWE.
Legends deals. You can still wrestle elsewhere on a Legends deal per Rob Van Dam, right? So
if Rob Van Dam can do it, because people just don't really question what Rob Van Dam does.
I mean, Rob Van Dam doing a lot, it seems.
Rob Van Dam does what Rob Van Dam does.
He's wilding out, yeah.
Just
only wrestlers. Only wrestlers, yes. But then we got another match I'm very much looking forward to. TNA Knockouts World Championship up for grabs. Jordynne Grace will defend against Masha Slamovich. Jordynne Grace has had an historic run as TNA Knockouts World Champion, defending the title successfully on 15 occasions. Oh my goodness. I think it's more than 15 at this point. Like, she's had so many different reigns and successful defenses this year, whether it be between NXT and TNA, the open challenges, holding the title since January, an historic run in her third reign as TNA Knockouts World Champion. But now she faces her biggest test yet, Masha Slamovich. Her and Masha put on one of the greatest Knockouts championship matches of all time at Bound for Glory 2022. They feuded over the title. It was Jordynne Grace who beat Masha Slamovich in her first loss in TNA. But since then, Masha has grown, and now she can speak English. And apparently Jordynne Grace was the first person that knew that she could speak English in TNA. Her and Masha always have hard-hitting matches, but they have also developed a friendship outside of the ring. Masha brought up that it was Jordynne Grace who was in her corner when she faced Shayna Baszler at Bloodsport earlier this year. And then it was Jordynne Grace who made the save for Masha Slamovich as she was feuding with Tasha Steelz and Alicia Edwards after they lost the tag team titles at Victory Road. Jordynne had her back. Masha's had her back, but they had a miscommunication in a six knockouts tag team matchup a couple of weeks ago, where Masha pulled out the kill board, the kill wall, and gave Jordynne Grace her picture with the X over it. How this whole feud started 2 years ago, it ran it back. And Masha Slamovich officially made the challenge for Bound for Glory. They had a sit-down interview talking about their past with one another last week. And now it's come here 2 years later, 2 years in the making. Jordynne Grace, Masha Slamovich. I believe this is their third or fourth encounter in TNA so far. Joe, what have you thought about the build to this matchup? And will Jordynne Grace's historic reign end here?
It's time, kids. It's time. It's time to crown Masha Slamovich. Is it 2 years too late? That's arguable. But I sat in an interview with Masha Slamovich after she won the GCW World Title. And I asked her, hey, you speak very perfect English, and we know this in GCW, and you cut promos. But in TNA, you're presented as Russian only. When's that going to change? And she said, when it changes, it'll be very important. Well, I guess this was the most important thing, because now they're going to put all their stock behind Masha Slamovich, which, honestly, at this point, given the growth, given the opportunity, given circumstances around Jordan Grace's contract status. Now's the time. This is the moment. This is the place. Build has been fine. It's a little weird to try and figure out who's on which side of the babyface heel chart because Masha was babyfaced and then this whole kill wall thing healed her, but the fans are going to be behind Masha as much as they are behind Jordan Grace. Feels like a foregone conclusion, but this is Masha's time, as they're saying in the chat.
Shad, what about you? What do you think?
I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that notion. I feel like I said earlier, right? I feel like the knockouts division could use some new stars, and I feel Masha Slamovich is already a star that you have intact, but crowning her, allowing her to be a champion for you would only make her elevated, kind of become, potentially if Jordan Grace leaves, you're going to need a face of the franchise. I feel like in the women's division, Masha Slamovich could be the face of the franchise, and her ending Jordan Grace's historic reign at a Bound for Glory would only mean more to it as well. And I feel like that's kind of what Jordan Grace, I feel like she'd want to do. I feel like she'd want to put over somebody like Masha Slamovich in the process, as we presume may be the last hurrah for her in TNA. So I'm going to go and pick Masha Slamovich. I'm going to agree with the chat. It's Masha Slamovich's time.
Yeah, this is unanimous. I'm a big Masha Slamovich fan. I consider her a friend, and I'm looking forward to this show because it feels like this is going to be her coronation in TNA. I am one of those people, Joel, that would say it's 2 years too late. Because I called this back in 2022 that she should have continued her undefeated streak and beat Jordan Grace then. But hey, better late than never. If it's late, it don't matter.
Correction.
Yeah, course correction. Masha Slamovich wins here. And I do agree that her talking English, it does feel like everything has come together where this is her moment.
For those who were on the same boat as SP3, talking about Masha being undefeated and all that stuff, and where has she been, the sit down that they did this past week with Jordan and Masha was actually really good at explaining that. Yeah. When Masha was saying, while Jordan Grace was hogging the spotlight, being the Knockouts World Champion, I was doing everything I could to remain in my own spotlight, winning the, being a tag champion and having to work with the system and having to do this and do that. They did a really good job of at least making it show that while Jordan Grace was the number one in the knockouts, Masha wasn't that far behind. And I really do enjoy that they've made you invested in this match beyond the fact that Masha and Jordan have had one-on-one competition before.
Yeah. They've made this feel like it's a babyface versus babyface matchup. That, to answer your question, I don't think either of them is the heel. It very much feels like two stars going up against each other, and they're just going to let the fans in Detroit decide who's going to be the babyface during the matchup.
Yeah, and it has that big match feel to it for that exact reason. It's like Clash of the Titans, you just embrace the moment of what it is going to be. So it should be one of it's probably if Speedball and Vikingo for some reason is not match of the night, I feel like that could be a dark horse match of the night. Because I love Masha Slamovich's in-ring style. She be really putting a lot of pain in to her opponents on how hard she be hitting, and it's gonna be special.
I'm looking forward to it. And Vikingo and Speedball, it should be great. But I will say I love Vikingo, but sometimes he could trip up a little bit. So we don't know. Are you coming to say hi? You're eating? You want to say hi to Joel and Shad?
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, you're eating. But yeah, that's for the people in the chat who's been asking for Harlem. There you go. Then you got finally another babyface versus babyface matchup in the main event of TNA Bound for Glory for the TNA World Championship. It will be Nic Nemeth defending against Joe Hendry with Frankie Kazarian as the special guest referee. It was Joe Hendry who defeated Frankie Kazarian to become the #1 contender for the TNA World Championship. Him and Nic Nemeth have basically been showing that they have mutual respect for one another. They picked up a win in tag team action against First Class, KC Navarra and AJ Francis. Nic Nemeth has been a big supporter of Joe Hendry, talking about him being the future of TNA wrestling. What Frankie Kazarian has kind of been an outlier in all of this and been the middleman throughout this whole process and the build to this matchup. And then last week on TNA Impact, he said that he would find his way into the TNA World Championship matchup at Bound for Glory. After attacking Nic Nemeth following his win over Matt Cardona, it was Joe Hendry who came out to make the save when Frankie Kazarian announced that he will be the special guest referee for this matchup. And I just, when they made this announcement, I was like, y'all really couldn't do 2 babyface versus babyface matches. You had to get a heel in this situation somehow. So I respect it, but it does kind of bring a caveat into the whole situation with Frankie Kazarian being the special guest referee. But it feels like ever since Slammiversary, everybody has been talking about and wanting TNA to crown Joe Hendry, for Joe Hendry to become the TNA World Champion. That's what everybody in our chat and here on our preview for Slammiversary wanted. Now is the time. Is it or is it not? We'll start with the professor himself. Joe, is it Joe Hendry finally going to win the TNA World Championship, or will Nic Nemeth retain and continue to be the face of the company?
I hope TNA honey dicks us even more. So
it's been a 6-month honey dicking. Like, this is ridiculous.
What's another 6 months?
Oh my, dog, that's crazy.
What are y'all up to in January, huh? What do y'all want to do at Hard to Kill? Here's the problem. There are so many things that get in the way of this match. It's going to be overbooked mayhem because you have Kazarian. Now, remember what I said about Jeff Hardy doing the live show, doing the he's going to bring out his guitar and pretend to sing. Well, Joe Hendry is also going to do that, to the point where Joe Hendry is like, please make concert posters for this. I don't know what that's going to do now, because you can't have Joe Hendry lose and the next night. If it's untelevised, it's different. But if it's televised, then like you got to have Joe Hendry and the Hardys, the tag team champions, the world champions, go off and have some sort of 6-man tag on TV for that following Thursday, whenever they air the show. I don't know. I do a post show. It doesn't matter. So yeah, they're going to attitude era the heck out of this match, because then you have JBL, and JBL is literally everywhere, and JBL's performance everywhere is as a bad guy, as a heel, except for TNA, where he is behind the world champion who is a babyface. So do you turn Nic Nemeth and have JBL like be the influencing force? Does JBL does he screw Nic Nemeth and go with Frankie Kazarian? This is the thing. If Kazarian wins Call Your Shot, Frankie Kazarian could walk out with the world championship by calling his shot, having JBL take out Nic Nemeth, and then he gets the pin. Maybe he pins Joe Hendry for good measure. I don't know. This is the problem, and also the added benefit of this match is that there's so much going on that I cannot tell you who wins, because certain things have to fall into place. Winner of Call Your Shot and the winner of Macklin and Alexander will probably influence the main event winner, because you have to assume Macklin and Alexander will kind of start to dictate which babyface, which heel is going to win. And it's such a pain in the ass because I don't have an answer for this. Because you got a guy playing guitar the next night. You've got the guy who gives the clothesline who's going to show up that night. And then you also have the special guest referee that basically that was my monkey's paw moment, by the way, on Thursday. I said this. It was monkey's paw. It was, I know we're getting Vikingo, but I also know that we're getting a special guest referee in the main event. And that was like, screw me. Long story short, no contest to finish. I don't know. Guys, I'm serious. I go back and forth, and I'm usually pretty good at just saying what I think is going to happen. But this is one time where I'm like, there's too much shit in the way. I don't know.
I'm gonna put my reputation and my good prediction record on the line here. I'm just gonna say for the love of God, please, Joe Hendry, win this damn title. I'm sick of this. It's the biggest show of the year. Just do it.
But they
Just pull the
love
trigger.
But they love Nic Nemeth. You don't understand how much they love Nic Nemeth. You don't get it. And we don't know where Joe Hendry's going to be in a year's time, let alone a few months' time. I know
He's going to be for the rest of 2025. It's not Jordan Grace. Jordan Grace amended her contract to January 2025. Allegedly, reportedly, Joe Hendry's here until the end of 2025. Just put the title on him.
It's malpractice if Joe Hendry doesn't win Saturday. And that's nothing against Nic Nemeth. I think Nic Nemeth is one of the more underrated wrestlers in his time. But Joe Hendry is undeniable. The guy has really transcended TNA, to be honest with you. I'm going to be real. I feel like he's a bigger star than the product at this point. And, you see it, like, as soon as he even got on the WWE with an NXT, like, the reaction and online, like, the guy is just one of those stars that is beyond what he does in ring-wise. He's, like, a good person that could be the flag holder of your company. Why you want to put the belt on him in a moment like that? Like, I feel it just wouldn't be fair to him. I feel you need to – it can make it overbooked. I know Frankie Kazarian is the outlier being the ref, like y'all mentioned, JBL, this, that, and the third. Through all of the, craziness and chaos, let's give this man the title. Let's let him be the champion. This is his time. This is the Joe Hendry era. I got Joe Hendry winning. And if he doesn't win, y'all will probably not see me doing TNA review shows with y'all again.
What are they thinking? I know this is gonna be overbooked. I know JBL's gonna be involved. I know Frankie Kazarian is gonna be healing this up. I mean, maybe even like Jeffrey Lee is saying in the chat, maybe even a call your shot running. But like even if you're gonna have him lose in like a minute, he has a minute long run. At least have him win this matchup, and then the call your shot gauntlet winner can cash in on him. At least do that. But you gotta have Joe Hendry win.
I'm pretty big on Joe Hendry. I even thought he should have beaten Ethan Page when they had the match, and that would have been a cool moment. A TNA talent winning the NXT belt. Even if it's like for a month or like a couple weeks, like just that being what it is, I don't know. They can't do that. Even though I feel like Nic Nemeth has been doing some solid work. He's been a good champion as well. But I don't know. I feel like passing of the guard. Let's send the fans in Detroit happy that night. Let's all sing the song after that. We can have it like a behind like another concert too, man. Yeah.
They're already going to be happy. Eminem's going to show up.
You can't have this man come out with Eminem and then lose.
Yeah, you can. I think you forget WrestleMania 39. You had people lose left, right, and center in that main event. Good stuff. Rubber chickens for all.
Oh yeah, Joe Hendry definitely has to just battle Nic Nemeth like it's 8 Mile over the shook one's feet.
Do it. It'd
be crazy.
This guy's a gangster. His real name's Dolph. But yeah.
Okay. Dolph plays golf. Oh man.
Telling you, man, it's not easy to predict this one because Here, let me do a little inside baseball with y'all. And not even inside. Let me pull the curtain back on our Fightful post show. We've made a bit of an internal agreement that if Nic Nemeth retains the title of Bound for Glory, we might stop doing a weekly TNA review.
Oh, damn.
We have put serious consideration into this. Sitting there being like, they're going to do it.
I respect it.
There's a lot riding on this match then. Shit.
Depends who you ask. There are certain people who wouldn't be too upset about our TNA post show going away. But I would get a lot of messages asking where we are.
So where are you guys? I stayed on for after the ROH review, and you guys are not here.
I need to do my morning cardio. Where are you?
Oh man, I am looking forward to this main event because of all the factors like Joe went through that makes this a very interesting one, and it's all up in the air right now. And Louis says Eminem punching Joe Hendry in the dick to cost him the title.
Yes, Louis is a man after my own heart. He understands.
Oh, no.
He understands how I love wrestling. Kick him in the dick. When in doubt, kick him in the dick.
He's a wanted man. SP3. Come on, said Jeffrey Lee. I mean, this is true. This is true. He has to zip up. But yes, that brings us to the end of our TNA Bound for Glory 2024 preview. I want to thank Shad and Joel so much for joining me today. Had a bunch of fun talking about this card. Coming up this Saturday, live on pay-per-view, TNA Bound for Glory, Saturday, October 26th, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The main card, the pre-show, I believe, is 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m.
6:45.
Oh, 6:45. Oh, they went WrestleMania side.
You need
pre-show.
you need that extra 15 minutes for Rhino to get out there onto the stage.
This is cool. That first hour is just gonna be the Hall of Fame.
Is he gonna give his acceptance note? Is he gonna do that in full gear, like wearing his Rhino singlet, and then be like, "No, let's go call her Shad," and then he just don't.
What a man!
That's crazy.
Shad, thank you so much. First time on the channel
Appreciate
with
it,
us,
man.
Appreciate you letting us be your first guest spot
Oh,
in
yeah.
the podcasting world. So
Nah.
I want to give you the platform to let everybody know where they can follow you on social media and where they can see all your great work, whether it be podcasting, whether it be battle rapping, and where they can follow you everywhere.
Oh yeah, nah, man. Definitely. I appreciate you letting me be on the show with y'all, man. This was a lot of fun. Really cool to preview the pay-per-view. Y'all can follow me on Twitter, AHKDMV703. That's AHKDMV703. Follow me on Wrestling Republic. I'm a podcaster there. I do a Tuesday night NXT review show right after the show's done. This Sunday, right after the pay-per-view for Halloween Havoc is done, we're going to be reviewing that. I got a show called Sunday Spotlight that we do where we interview a lot of independent wrestling talent on a weekly basis. So, yeah, man, be plugged in with Wrestling Republic, myself. And, yeah, I appreciate y'all, brothers, man. It's been a blast.
Yeah, so much fun, man. And Joel, as always appreciate you coming on for our TNA previews, reviews, and everything in between. The Professor, let everybody know where they can follow you.
First of all, shout out to Shad for having my license plate number as his Twitter handle. So there's that. Second of all, you can find me at Joel Pearl, JoelPearl. Listen, everything's locked down right now, but if I like you and you follow me, I'll probably bring you on a board. So let's do that. I host the TNA post show every single Thursday night after the ROH crew over on youtube.com/Fightful. And of course, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, I get in the weeds with the one and only Jeremy Lambert. We talk about wrestling. Today, we talked about plagiarism in wrestling and you. So go over to FightfulOverbooked.com. That's where we do all that content. SB3 is there too, and it's fun. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you.
Yes, thank you both for joining me today. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSP3. Follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at TrueHillHeat. Patreon.com/TrueHillHeat. It's a great place to support us when we are not live here. Right now, over there, we got another preview for NJPW Super Junior Tag League 2024 with myself and Jay News. So go over there and check that out. But check out all the great content we got on the channel right now, like Rated Raw Review number 40 with me and Romeo reviewing this week's Monday Night Raw, and me and Jay News reviewed NJPW Royal Quest 4. I was there live, so you get the live perspective, the on-TV perspective. Go over and check that out as well. I will be back tomorrow at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time with AE Ramble, the best AEW Dynamite review in the land. Me and Jimmy Macroram will not be nice, probably, knowing Jimmy, but talking about tonight's AEW Dynamite as only we can. So join us live for that. But for Shad, for Joel, for all of you, thank you so much for joining us live. Thank you so much if you're watching us on demand. And for me, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. This has been our TNA Bound for Glory 2024 preview. We are signing off until next time.